Erwin mentioned that something happened in this industry somewhere around 18 months ago where people started paying attention to this opportunity. By the way, just a complete coincidence, we published our Future of Television Advertising 18 months ago. No, actually 400,000 views. So obviously
all you.
someone's interested.
This
It
is
could
you.
be. You never know.
And an incredible video
Actually,
from here last
yeah, there
year.
we go.
Unbelievable.
There we go. It's more about the video. But what's interesting, what I find interesting is there's a lot of talk about programmatic TV, an interesting concept that doesn't yet exist. And by the digital folks that are talking about RTB addressable, digital video, which I think is interesting for a very, very small, probably, application of the marketplace. And it seems to me that this false dichotomy between linear TV, like the old school way, the one that you've now incredibly dissed, and this other end of the spectrum, it's not a dichotomy, right? There's a progression along a linear spectrum, and it seems to me that a logical place, and there's been a lot of traction, let's face it, in digital video, the growth of digital video, the devices, proliferation. We're seeing now this year, I think it's close to $8 billion in spend. $8 billion, that's with a B. That's a much, much bigger concept here, and yet, if you ask me, this is the next train stop from linear TV to addressable TV. So we talked about some of the constraints. Let's dig into these constraints because clearly the market's there, right? $70 billion, and why wouldn't an advertiser want to spend more targeted? So what is holding us back?
Here's what's holding it back, right? So when you look at a large advertiser, they have been used to 60 years of broad demography. When you look at a major advertiser and you ask them who they want to reach in television, they will tell you adults 18 to 49. That might be the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. They're used to thinking that way. So trying to convince advertisers to go from that top of that funnel to the bottom of the funnel, to go from 18 to 49 to people that buy soup. That's
You're
not
saying
an
it's the
easy thing.
demand mindset.
I'm saying that it's the strategic mindset of advertisers and agencies redefining who they really want to reach. Then, once they do that, then it becomes the supply-demand mindset. Don't forget, the majority of television already gets sold out. To do what the two of us are really been advocating for so many years, we're working with a relatively small pool of inventory because the majority of it is sold out in this funny thing we call upfront. So in order to shift from an analog model to this model that we're talking about today, not only do we need to better refine our segments so we can reduce our waste, so we can improve the return on investment, but we need to help convince the media owners that if they go from a broad scope to a narrow scope, it will improve their yield and everybody will make money.
I would say the biggest friction, the single biggest friction, is the fact that the data is locked up behind the operators. Because I think if that data, I'm counting over 100 million set-top box. Yes, free the data. Everybody knows this. I'm free the data.
That's a mini disk.
Is that a disk?
Half a disk.
Okay.
I think,
I didn't say it.
2008, we saw probably the first operator start to pull back data, Charter, LA, and 300,000. And since then, fast forward, we probably have over 100 million households that are being pulled back through the operator. And very little of those have been freed up in a way that the agencies can re-express demand against audiences in television. So I think if there was one thing that could change right now, that would be the thing that I would change, is to free the data. That would get us starting to change. I think it's less about, to me, the demand. Yes, Mike is right, that getting advertisers on board with a new way of buying and planning, does take some time. But the thing that's really holding us back is access to the data to really transform the business model. And I think we've shown that we're going to pay a higher CPM.
Yep.
We get more.
Yep.
We pay more.
Yeah.
Terry, I think...
Mike, are you going to free the data?
Well, I'll come back to the free the data. Let me just make a comment about what changed. Besides you publishing your report, obviously, over the top has been, in the last 18 months, it's really materialized, and eyeballs have moved to other devices, other screens. And so I think this problem that we're trying to solve for television, I think, is going to be quickly something that we want to solve across screens. That'll be the next demand, is how do we follow that? How do we follow that television subscriber when he or she consumes content on mobile devices and other screens? And that's something that we're as focused on as anything right now. And to your data question, again, we just working out a business model will solve this.
Right.
I think the market, the advertiser wants it, and if both the agency side and the distributor side kind of take the view of the advertiser into account, we'll work this thing out.